Hello, everyone.
Went to the gym before the pod, barely got out of the shower in time to catch the show. Now I have soap in my eyes because I was rushing. Oh, Slab, you win though. You win the award. You did it.
As long as it's with your good eye. And you know
Right.
what? You could just hear us as well. You just listen to our lovely voices.
Good shout, JCD and Wandering. You are correct.
Yes.
He is not in his usual location.
I'm touching all of Aaron's things. I'm touching them, Aaron.
I'm touching them.
I'm going to make your thing wobbly. It will fall off. It will absolutely fall off. Yeah.
Those are the comments here. I've had a pint of Guinness, a loaf of soda bread, and a big bowl of Irish stew. Nothing to do with the episode, but it's St. Patrick's Day. During production, Kate Mulgrew hosted SPD lunches on set. I did not know.
Oh, so cool.
It is St. Patrick's Day. And I did not send my child where she is today with anything green. So if the tradition continues, do you have this tradition? Like St. Patrick's Day, and you get punched if you're not wearing green.
Oh no, that's horrible.
It was horrible because if you ever forgot or your parents didn't remind you or whatever and you weren't wearing green, people would pinch you all day long. That didn't happen to you?
No, that didn't happen. You would have a pinch punch first of the month. And that was the first of every single month. And you had to say no returns or else you could get punched back. Yellow car was another one. If you ever see a yellow car, you can punch them.
It is abuse. That is also abuse. You're correct.
Yes, all of that is abuse. It really is.
Oh, that's really weird. Pinched. Did it do
it? There's been some intermittent crackling.
Pinched.
It's not word triggered. It's life triggered. We will fix it.
I don't think we're going to fix it at this point.
I'm confident. I'm confident we're going to fix it.
I do hope that it's not a serious issue because we had a big storm come through and very, very fast winds. I think that was over 100 miles per hour at certain points in time. There was a tornado. There were fire warnings because if people are burning something in their yard, the wind just picks up the embers and suddenly you've got a fire. So it's been kind of intense in this neck of the wood for a little while. And my electricity went off in the house like unexpectedly. So when I got back home, everything was turned off. And so this did not shut down properly. So who knows? Maybe it's part of that.
Yeah. You did call it Slab. I'm really interested in this. Had Aaron mentioned it on Recotopia? You did mention that I was going to be in the States this week.
You did. It was last week. Yeah. How did you know? Or did you just have
How did you know? It's very interesting.
Yeah. Mrs. Flyboy was born in Ireland and never wore green on St. Patrick's Day. She said she didn't have to prove she was Irish.
Fair.
Right?
Absolutely fair.
Mm-hmm. I tried to get out of the pinch for no green by claiming green underpants and it never worked. Yeah, because you can't prove it because otherwise you get in trouble for also showing your underwear. That's not okay.
It's amazing. You just do the waistband. You could have done that. Could have found a way.
And you don't have a time ship to blow up to reset this enterprise's communication systems. That shit is fucked forever. And to be honest, I'm not sure it would truly be this enterprise any other way.
Well, it's true. And also, as evidenced by the episode, the communications issue would still be there, even if we did reset everything.
Slab, that was my hint, actually. I thought that there was a chance I was going to have my studio ready for Ian as well. But that did not happen. So like in the perfect world, the solution is that we would both be connected to the same board in the same space, which theoretically would fix some issues.
Yeah.
But if that was your only clue, well done.
Really good. Good deducing, sir.
Well
Very
done.
good.
Your deductions are incredible. I knew someone who was half Irish, half Mexican, no drinking in that family. Sarcasm.
Yay, stereotypes.
Yeah, you're right.
The Irish do like their booze. They really, really do.
Which is double Danae's issue. It could double. Thank you.
It's possible. It may make me crackly, but
you are crackly to me. I can hear the crackle on yours too.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it could be also sound the program that we use to stream. Oh, by the way, I wanted to try to put some music on again.
Oh yeah. I have all of my buttons.
Yes, Link, I have an animal story to share with you.
Yeah, you do.
This one actually impacts Ian as well because
Yeah,
Ian
it does.
here. So we go to leave, and Iris opens the door to go out into the garage, and she says, "Uh-oh, Kitty did it again." And I was like, okay. I open the door. Of course, this is now the next dead bird. So I am sorry that they're all dead bird stories, but this one was particularly horrific. I'm hoping that this is the last dead bird story that I need to share for some time because, to be honest with you, this is the worst one. Did I? Tell me about it. It could be that I turned the music on, so let me know. Oh my gosh, when I accidentally said cat that day, it was awful.
That was so bad. That was amazing in the edit. It was so funny.
It could have been my excitement. And I actually, when I emote at my loudest, for some reason my mic is louder on the board. Again, lots of things to figure out. Thank you for being here. Okay, so what happened? This is disgusting.
Yeah, it's bad.
Actually, Ian, why don't you describe what you saw?
So, Iris said what Danae said she said, and then closed the door. And then Danae opened the door and looked and went, "Oh no," closed the door. And then I opened the door and said, "It's the circle of life." Because what I saw was a poof of feathers just on every single step. It looked like 10 birds had been killed because there was so much feather on every step. Then on the very, very bottom, as you get into the garage, was just a wing, a complete wing and 2 feet. It was like that Pixar short where like the birds get zapped on like the wire. It was like a cartoon, just like 2 legs were left. Completely intact.
Imagine a cartoon where a bird lands on a wire and for some reason the body is electrocuted and completely disintegrates, but all that's left is the 2 little legs. Hi, Polly.
It was rough. It was a huge amount of feathers.
I've never seen so many feathers. It genuinely seems that the cat just started to like pull them out and just fling them everywhere because there were so many. Again,
it had it in its mouth and was just like shaking it vigorously.
It was crazy. Yes. So the part that I found to be the most horrific is that as I'm cleaning it up with the broom that I need to disinfect, now that I think of it.
Yep.
I'm trying to sweep the feathers down each step and they're clinging onto the step. Makes it very difficult. I'm noticing probably a tablespoon amount of just birdseed.
Yes.
And it's on every step. So the cat, first of all, we never found the body, the head. It was either buried under more feathers. We just missed it.
Or eaten.
But there's birdseed. So when the cat got to the center of the lollipop that he licked, the center of the Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop, and ripped that sucker open, out came the bird seed that it had just eaten. And it was not even a little bit. It was a lot of it.
It was loads of seed, and it was like completely undigested. The bird had clearly had breakfast and then been murdered immediately afterwards. This is really interesting. Iris was extremely casual about it. Like, not fazed, not annoyed, not upset. In fact, she was defensive on behalf of the cat. When we were like, "Man, Thunderstorm, what are you doing?" She's like, "No, he is bringing us food. He is trying to feed his family."
She did. She was all into the story of it.
Amazing. Like, she is actively justifying the cat murder. What did she nicknamed him Murder Mittens.
Yes. Well, that comes from Jen coming over. Jen says, "How are you, Murder Mittens?" Because that is him. He is. She is right. Absolutely.
She's not wrong.
I love this too. Oh, that's so much worse. I thought the cat was leaving bait for the birds.
Nope. Just destroying them.
Remember when everyone was so worried about the fish dying?
How do we break it to Iris? Nah, she's fine. It's the circle of life.
Oh yes, sci-fi brony. We've fully embraced the stealing of the neighbor's cat.
100%. Yeah.
He lives here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a routine.
It's the whole thing. Yeah. Gosh,
Amazing.
how many wonderful stories we have with you guys. Thank you for being here for the live recording of Captain's Pod. We are streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Twitch at 2 different locations. My personal Twitch at twitch.tv/Danae Says, and also twitch.tv/CinemaSins Live, as this is part of the CinemaSins podcast network. Captain's Pod Live is. And we are going to be talking about the second half of our episode today. I do want to say, I think it's going to be in the outtakes, but it's worth mentioning here. I decided to keep my notes from last week, and it was 1,800 words that I had written from the first episode. And now my count is at 3,972 words.
Gosh, that's so many words. So I did have Danae read out some of it, and it was an excellent recap. And she has transcribed 90% of the episode in her notes, like Janeway's entire ending speech, like the temporal variances. It's all in there. It's all in there in the notes. I don't know how she finds anything.
I do think we're going to share it again. What is this comment from Evan? Wishing this to be the last dead bird story means you will move on to new animals that will die in your house. God damn it, Evan, you're right.
Brings
By the
back
way,
an
this is an
entire
R-rated
fox.
show. What'd you say, Ian?
Brings back an entire fox.
Oh
no, there's a fox on the porch.
Or rabbits.
Oh my gosh. If Thunderstorm catches a rabbit, good job. Well done.
But not in the house. The good news,
bringing it into the house.
The good news is I do not have a way, like a door outside.
No, there's no cat flap.
If I did,
game over.
We would have had some attention in the house.
It would have been inside. It would have probably been in the bed, like plomped on your head.
Yeah. And teaching children to steal.
It's fair.
Yeah, I can see that. But I also taught her how to talk to the neighbor about what was going on and invite her in. I'll never forget when she comes over, and it had been probably an additional 3 to 4 months of she had left on vacation, had given me all the cat food, and I was the sole cat's provider while she was on vacation for I want to say a week and a half to 2 weeks, something like that. She never came back over to collect the food or to call and say, hey, I'm ready to take back over responsibility. There was nothing, complete silence. So I'm like, hey, why don't you come over and see how the cat's doing? And she comes over into the house and she sees the routine that I have with the cat. And she sees where he eats and all of the wonderful items that and she's taking pictures of everything to share with her kids. She's like, look at how wonderful life.
I need to get this cat back from this crazy woman that is actively stealing him from me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Someone had loud feedback for a second too. Man, we're going to figure it out. I just don't even know exactly how yet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. This sounds like a cable thing to me.
This is how we figure it out because you guys give feedback. So thank you for that. Please don't stop.
Everybody. Don't stop moving.
One of my cats does the grab and shake thing, but with his dry food. Yes, that's what this cat does as well. Where he'll grab it and he'll just shake it.
He's all teeth. He's all teeth and jaw. Like.
Sci-Fi Brony wants to know if you're going to hear spikes in the edit.
I'll be fine.
Okay.
Maybe, but I'll figure it out. I will be fine.
Other things to mention about the live show, besides this being an R-rated show, is that we do pin your comments to try to pop them up during the show as we kind of get to those different segments. But we are producing this live as we go, and so if we get involved in the conversation, sometimes we abandon the chat. So we'd like to talk to you guys before and after, and also a shout out to everybody who watches this later, who isn't part of the live show and is able to watch this later. We really appreciate you and your views and your feedback and your comments. We do see them and we really appreciate them.
We never steal them. Never. Never.
Yeah, we do.
Never. Yeah, I mean, if we get like a 200-person raid again, then yeah, we'll probably acknowledge that.
The only reason I caught that last time was because I happened to have my other computer open at the time.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
that was really fun.
There is a bit of a delay through this system, so you guys will leave a comment and it takes a bit to get to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got the yawns.
You okay? Do you need to take a little lap around?
Yeah, I take a little nap. See you back in half an hour. You've got this. I'll join you for the sins.
What's a good name for a kangaroo chat? Let's help Sarah out.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Kangaroo.
What makes you just because it starts with the K?
Alliteration is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So why not Kyle?
Jack's been taken. Kyle would also work. Yeah. You've got a little kangaroo? Like, you don't? Because really?
Probably like a stuffed animal or something, right?
I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we give feedback about giving feedback, is that a feedback loop?
Correct.
Feedception.
Nigel. Great name for a kangaroo.
Nigel. Yes, that's very, especially if you also put like a little bow tie around the neck, I feel.
Oh. Bruce.
Philippa. I like that.
Trying to think of some bouncing names.
He's a toy. He is a toy.
You did not specify.
He's fat and she loves him. And he's carrying a boomerang.
All the stereotypes.
Okay, well, we're gonna get started on the episode today because it's a doozy. And it's also wrapping up a two-parter, so we might end up accidentally spending more time on this one than we intend. So go ahead and kill the music here, and we will. Is the banner updated and everything?
Oh shit!
About the banner?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll come back and chat with you guys. You are a toy. And chat. We're not on the battle station.
That's amazing.
Don't be crazy. That's just silliness. And thank you guys for joining us. Hope you guys had a lovely weekend. And life is filled with awesome stuff. By the way, I will not be performing on the guitar. There is no Wonderwall happening, but I did and play some music recently.
Gotta be the one that saves me.
And she wanted to play on it, so she put it in her lap, and she was kind of like strumming it, like in her lap, like almost. Oh gosh, what's one of those like harps that goes
harpsichord
table? No,
theremin?
It's more like a piano, isn't it?
Yeah. Like a theremin? No, theremin's the electric.
I don't remember what it's called. One. Either way, it was just in her lap, and she was strumming it, and she was singing her own music, which I love. She's
or a lyre.
It's great. She's a great little. Let's just say she takes after her mom. We sing a lot. We make up our own lyrics. We do our own thing, and she's very comfortable to do that. So she's strumming and she's doing that. And I say, "Do you want me to play one of my songs?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." I do 7 strums of the guitar, and I just start singing. And she's like, "Can I have something to? Can you pick? I have something to say now." I'm like immediately, just
no attention span there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you would have played, she might have paid more attention to it.
I do have a disproportionate amount of her attention right now for being new. Yeah.
It's Dulcimer. Yes, Mark. That's it. Fly. Okay, so hold on a second. Flyboy at 119 said like a dulcimer, and then nothing happens. And then Mark says like a dulcimer. I see that one, and Flyboy is like, "Am I talking to myself? A dulcimer?"
No, she just prefers Mark. That's all it is. She prefers Mark over Flyboy.
That was really funny.
Sheer favoritism.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's amazing. The Irish favoritism just reminded me that you made banana bread, and it was time to eat the banana bread.
Go on, tell everyone.
So he said, "Iris, can you come and get some plates so we can serve the banana bread?" So she gets 2 plates, one for me, one for her, gets the banana bread. And I'm like, well, oh, what are we going to eat it with? And she's like, oh, okay. Gets cutlery for everyone and gets a fork for me and her. And you're just in the kitchen, just like, when do I exist?
She also wants to make sure that you sit beside her. There's no other seat.
No, there's only 2 seats.
Yeah. It's okay, Polly. You can be wherever you want to be.
You do
There's
it.
conversations to be had everywhere.
Yeah,
But
there
yes,
is.
definitely. I exist in some weird space in like an interdimensional pocket sort of situation where like I'm not really a human person. I'm not an individual. I am an archetypal being that is responsible for the maintenance of her comforts and what keeps her alive. I'm not a human yet. That'll come later when she sees me as a person, I hope.
As somebody to rail against, yes.
Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting ride.
Oh boy.
I need to tell more stories. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
I do too, Polly.
Let's do it.
I do too.
That would be handy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one last yawn.
That's not true. You're gonna be yawning the entire. Did you have coffee today?
Oh, I haven't had a single coffee today.
That's the problem.
First time in a long time I have not had a coffee.
And look what's happened. You need your addiction. This is why addiction is important. Wait.
I have had a cup of tea, but that tea doesn't have the same get up and go in the morning. Okay. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where... What?
Sorry. I was just decided to make a noise just now.
I don't know if that was a genuine feedback noise then that just it sounded very good. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Most important question first, what is your beverage of choice?
Elkothian spirits, probably.
Nice.
I want to know what that is.
You want to drink the last substance of an entire species.
Yeah, I think so. Which sounds really dark when you say it like that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite parts is that they're told what it is and they keep eating and drinking all of it.
Amazing. That feast looked really interesting. Like, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
what about you? What are you gonna replicate?
I'll take 3rd-degree burns to 60% of my body.
Why would you
because
do that?
honestly, they don't look that bad on Janeway. She had like 3rd-degree burns to maybe 2% of her body. Anyway, Ambassador, give us a synopsis before you stare me down.
Did you want to see
what? Do you have a cat?
I don't know what just happened. It might have been the wind suddenly kicking up, but it felt like it just went through my house and it didn't. All right, we have a ghost.
That was weird.
That was very strange. Sorry. Synopsis?
Give us a synopsis, Ambassador.
Turns out that Ian's spoiler last week was right.
Oh no, don't remember that. Don't remember that I gave away the wife.
It wasn't a woolly worm. It wasn't some strange parasite that he was attempting to eradicate because it was destroying cultures. Oh no, it was a lock of hair.
Wait, you thought it was a worm?
Yeah, I did.
Actually?
Yeah, I really thought, I even read it in my notes and you're like, worm? What worm?
Amazing. You thought it was a woolly, like a skinny tribble.
It could have been a skinny tribble. That's right.
A scribble.
In today's episode, we see just how far Captain Janeway is willing to go to make sure that her ship is destroyed. And how the company wants to pay fewer people to be in episode 2. And so all the extras are not paid in this episode. It's just our favorites.
Nice.
On screen. We get to have a nice connective time with Tuvok with 2 characters and see more about that character. We get to see a doctor dismiss a captain and the captain give the big old fuck you fingers. We get to see Chakotay and Paris figure out how to take down an temporal gods from the inside out.
Yes.
And then it all doesn't matter in the end because the timeline resets.
Hey, it matters. We'll fucking get into it. It matters. It matters. Ambassador, just some overall thoughts and feelings. This is obviously a two-parter, a conclusion to a fun story. How do you think it served as a two-parter?
I thought the pacing was really okay on this. I was a little worried.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what the motivation was, but it didn't really ruin anything for me because we still got to see the intensity of the character.
Yes.
So I think my overall thoughts and feelings are pretty good. I had a pretty good one. I got emotional. I almost shed a tear at one point in time.
Tell me when. Oh wait, let me guess. Janeway and Tuvok.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is an all-time Janeway Tuvok moment. It's amazing.
Yeah. But I thought it went into some good places. This episode tells us more of the backstory and the motivations of the bad guy, gives us sort of a view of what would incentivize his crew to do a mutiny.
Mm-hmm.
And it also really, I think, plants a flag. I don't think plants a flag. I think it's more foundational. It really solidifies what this franchise wants you to know about Janeway.
Yes.
They really want the audience to know what kind of a captain she is, even though it's sort of erased from history, and it never happens.
Still happened.
It's never known. We still got to do the experiment of seeing, like, under these extreme circumstances, what would the slow degradation of a ship and crew look like, and how would Janeway handle herself? And this is it. So I think it's doing what it wants to do, and I think it did a good job. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. This sometimes gets so I mentioned in the intro that sometimes Star Trek 2-part the part 2 lets it down. And I when I've like looked around on the interwebs, there's such a split. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people love the ending, some people think it means nothing. I come down on the side of really liking this as a 2-parter because you don't really have a lot of the metaphorical, like weighty philosophical questions in part 1. They are stacked in this episode. How far will you go to fix your species and your wife after a mistake that you made? Do people even exist once you've wiped them from time? How far will Janeway go for her crew? How far will Starfleet rules hold up when you're kidnapped and when your ship is in pieces?
Or when when your doctor tries to tell you to stop, like, where does the rules go there?
And you're just going to say, I'll kill you before I let that. Sorry, didn't mean to say I was going to kill you, but I did say it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love it. And there's so much of that stacked into this part 2 that would be tempting to put into part 1 because it's the most important part of the story. But yeah, I really think they stick the landing, and I love the ending for this one. I think it's really the only way you could have ended it. And for me, it really works because all of this stuff happened. It's not like, the way I think of it in my head, it's not like an alternate universe thing where we're looking at like a mirror universe or like the evil versions of them where it's like, oh, they get to do whatever they want and the rules don't matter. This all happened. This is how it would have happened. This is how it did happen. We've just gone back in time to a different timeline now. But these aren't alternate versions of the people we know. Like, I like this so much more because in my head, it's still a thing that happened, just it got reset.
Yeah.
So while they don't have the experiences and the memory, I still have the memory of it happening, and I still really enjoy it.
I really feel like the other thing that they needed to do in this episode, I thought they did a really good job of it. I don't know that I liked parts of it as it was happening, but Chakotay becoming this person that was curious about the technology,
yes,
I think is needed, because I wonder if they hadn't explored that, if we would be wondering, well, why didn't we try to use that technology to do what we needed to do? And maybe there's a way that we could use the technology. And this episode specifically, very importantly approaches that and shows, even just by changing one little meteor, you're impacting far more than you could ever imagine. And so you've just accidentally removed the evolution of an entire sector because you decided that this meteor didn't need to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so this technology to change these temporal rhythms and, do all of this stuff, I think we might assume in our hands we can figure it out. In our hands we could do it right. In our hands we can use our technology. And this episode saying it doesn't matter. We have these very strong, very intelligent scientists that have been at this for 200 years and they can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just because quote unquote we're the good guys of this episode doesn't mean that power comes, back over to us. So I thought that was really, really smart. And it also showed us a manic side to our main bad guy, who the show very cleverly gives an ending to. And that's a nice way to subvert the narrative too, and kind of draw you back in and go, see, it's not just your normal storytelling. We're actually going to give everybody the happy ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Chakotay gets way more to do in this episode. That's probably a good place to dive in. He doesn't come off very well. So I think I completely agree. Like, having one of Tom and Chakotay on Anorax's side is important for the story, and it does something really, really important. Chakotay being so on board with it so quick and like super duper into it, knowing that Anorax has killed billions and trillions of people, he doesn't come off very well. Like, it's like, Chakotay, really? You're very quick to get on board with the maniac's plan to continue to kill people, even if you're trying to do it in an ethical, moral way. Like, he's trying to do it in a way that means we don't have to kill anybody. Can we do it in a way that means no lives? We're just moving geography around, and then we can do it. And obviously it takes Anorax wiping out another species in front of him before he's like, okay, he's too far gone, I can't help him here. But I think there's a really, I love what would I do differently in these episodes. There's a really like simple thing that I think you could have done is put Tom and Chakotay on that ship for 100 years. Because they're not aging. Time doesn't matter. They're immune to it. Chakotay says, no, Tom's like, we've had us in prison in our quarters for 2 months and interrogating us. Put them in there for like 50 years, 100 years, 150 years. And then I really buy that Chakotay has gone down the path of, no, it doesn't matter. Like, we can fix this. And Tom is along the path of mutiny. Like, I think that has a lot more weight to it. And also, it doesn't matter because it's reset by the end of the episode. They can be in there for as long as you want them to be.
I guess if time moved differently inside, but if time is moving the same on the outside as it is on the inside, as far as, a day is a day, for example, then you still would run into the problem of Voyager not being able to limp along long enough to survive to have the ending.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm not super clear on. And I is this 200 years? Okay, they aren't aging over 200 years. No, yeah, I guess you're right, actually. Yeah, the rest of the galaxy is still aging at the same time. Yeah.
Maybe if
you'd lose Voyager.
Every time they do a temporal thing, part of them is reset. Because you would think if time is existing inside of that vessel in a normal pattern, that they would be aging. You would see signs of aging, but maybe part of their alien complex, like their DNA, they age differently. Like maybe they can just live a very long time.
Well, no, Anthrax says in the previous episode that they're immune to the effects of time while they're on the ship and in the shield. So, but I think it's right that the time around them still progresses. So they're not, because his Obrys says that he's still celebrating birthdays of people that died over 100 years ago. So all of the people that they know have come and gone and died while they're still on this mission. So yeah, you would sacrifice having Voyager in the finale with my plan. Yeah, that's fine. But it's still a cool thing to think about.
It is.
I still love that.
Yeah, it is a really interesting thing to think about. They would have to do something where the ship, part of their plan would be the ship returning to a specific point in time to meet back up with Voyager to have the ending that the show wanted it to have, which is a possibility.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, it's a very specific form of time travel they can do because Anorax is going on about how much he's screwed it up, and he knows he's messed it up. Like every time he makes a change, he can't undo the change very easily. So it is like befuddling in my brain. Why can't he very specifically can't just travel back in time to a point before he made the mistake? But I think that would get way too confusing because he's like wiping things from the entire timeline, like they've never existed. But then can he cross his own timeline to a point where it breaks my brain? Stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about time travel. Stop it.
Well, the episode doesn't really explain the limitations because they instead kind of show Anthrax as being this very like calculated, specific, precise, can do anything he wants to at the timeline sort of a person. But then he just inadvertently can't calculate for that one thing he can't expect. So we're told he can be precise, which leaves me wondering if there was another option to travel in time or just to do something different instead of eradication. But this 2-part series is not dealing with that part of time travel. This is experimenting with what it means to eliminate something from a timeline because he wants both things potentially. He wants to have the life back without this issue that he's trying to take off of the timeline, these people that he's attempting to remove or whatever he's trying to kind of take out of the equation. He wants to have both of those things existing. So
yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Can you hold on for a second? Are you hearing the noise on your end?
No, I'm not. We're just gonna I appreciate it, chat, but we're just gonna have to deal
well,
with
as long as you can. If you can't hear it and I can't hear it, then that's...
No, I can hear it, but it's not...
I can't hear it.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, but it's not...
Is it like a crackling? Like, what is it?
It's like you get a robot voice and it gets really, really crackling.
Do you want me to restart?
No.
Okay.
It
might be baked into my audio then. I'm just...
yeah, it could be, but I don't have a quick fix for it though.
I can try to restart my computer and see if it fixes it.
Yeah, cool.
But that's up to you if you want to stop the show and do that.
Yeah, no, let's just unless it's like persistent like every few seconds, let's carry on. Right, what was my thought? It was about Anorax.
Thank you, chat.
What did you just said? You said about the time travel. Chakotay.
You gonna go back and watch the live feed?
No, I'm not. I'm not quite there yet. Do you remember what you just said?
Nope.
Oh, let's see if I can figure it out from the chat.
I was talking about time not being being used for eradicating. He wanted two things at once.
Yes, he did. Got it. Just popped back into my head. I do like what the show does with that, where it turns Anorax. You can tell that he started by being very methodical and very deliberate about his adjustments. But the fact that every single adjustment he makes refuses to bring his wife back, then twists it in his head that, wow, this is personal. Like, he's been doing it for so long. Like, there's only one reason that my wife isn't alive, and it's because time hates me. Time is deliberately fucking with me.
I have a theory.
Do it. I love it.
I don't think that it would have reset unless her hair also was removed from the timeline. I think that
Oh,
there's symbolism that he had created this sort of container that kept it safe from any time. Like it was,
oh,
this will exist forever. And it's the last little bit of what is her in
oh
existence.
no.
And when it broke open, it went back into the great ether of time and allowed everything to reset.
I love it so much. And if that's so perfect because it's so symbolic of to have a chance of getting something back, you've got to let go of it as well. It would have been that would have been so perfect if Chakotay had somehow, by being a brilliant brain box that he isn't, managed to figure out that I know why you can't get your wife back. Like the only anomaly here is the hair that's in your office. Like that's so messed up because that's 200 years of him being the reason. Oh, that's so symbolic, Danae. That's so good.
Yeah. As soon as it disappeared and I saw like it fell, it disappeared, that him having to wrestle with that and then
Yeah.
everything reset back to where he wanted it to be.
Oh, I love it so much.
But I don't know if everything would have reset based on how they were operating the machine before. There's still some confusion about that, but it's I think it's rare that you watch any time travel piece and you don't walk away with what couple questions like how does that work? So
Oh, it has to. There's no. It's almost like it's a thing that doesn't actually exist and can't be properly ratified in some meaningful way.
I didn't really think I don't think I sunk into the time travel stuff in this episode as
Mhm.
much as I sunk into like Janeway. Like she was probably the
Yeah,
most interesting part of this episode to me
yeah.
was watching what they were doing with her character.
Yeah, she has her own, just like Anorak's Moby Dick journey, where she is refusing to let go of the ship still. Um, she personifies the ship a lot and is determined to. I think she knows that there's no coming back for Voyager,
Yeah.
but when Voyager goes, she goes as well. But it's honestly, it's for me, it's the strongest part of the episode. Like zeroing in on Janeway, she's the one that's taking the risks. She's literally going into the fire, walking through a nebula. So how much did you love those moments of the captain taking the reins?
I wondered how far they were going to take it in this episode because there's the foundational murmurings amongst the crew as far
Hmm.
as her decision making, if it was actually something that was basically mutiny worthy or not. You
Yeah.
know, the doctor is going to take it as far as he can, the crew is going to take it as far as they can. There's a great moment where they're all drinking sludge ration and she decides that they can't just rest in the nebula and limp along and repair.
Mhm.
They need to get back out and make allies, which
Yeah, the nebula is doing more damage than it is good.
clever because she does make allies. Loved that. We didn't get to see that
Oh
happen.
my gosh, biggest sin. We're like spending so much time with Chakotay and Tom and Anorax like pontificating, which I love, but then it's smash cut back to Janeway. I've made allies. I have a Starfleet with me. Like, what? I don't want to see that happen. That's a whole episode. I love
Yeah.
that.
But it was a neat little like, oh, she did it.
Yeah, she
So
did.
and obviously, like it definitely a sin. We didn't get to see part of it, but I think that would have deterred from the momentum of this episode. But
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
they leave that meeting, and Tuvok and Seven have a great chat as they're walking down the
Mm,
hallway because Seven
I love it.
questions her plan in that group, and Tuvok corrects Seven. And Seven's perspective when she's talking to Tuvok about why she spoke up with the group is a very Borg approach to what I'm used to having a very logical conversation. So, how
Yes.
did that scene work for you? Because I loved this scene.
I love it and I hate it. It's really hard for me to accept Tuvok's really hardline stance of the captain is always right. Like I get respecting the command structure, and I think I get what he's trying to communicate, but it's not a very I don't even know if I want to say that. It's not a super Vulcan perspective because that's something I'd expect like Chakotay or Harry Kim to say. And because the chain of command needs to be respected. And when the captain has their final say, you need to follow that. You then can't decide, well, I don't agree, so I'm going to go off and do this. Like, they do have the final word. And Seven didn't like disobey an order. She was just like, that's not a good plan, Captain. We should do this instead. Like, that's an alternate perspective. She just didn't present it very well. And Tuvok comes down on her quite hard, as you can't challenge her in public. It's like, there's 7 of you. Where else are you going to challenge the captain when she comes up with a batshit idea? But I also love the mentorship of Tuvok guiding Seven into this command structure. It's clear that they've increased their bond over the previous few months. So it's an important scene. I like what it does. I'm just not convinced. I don't like it coming from Tuvok, the blind allegiance to a captain. I get it's like Janeway because they have this huge history, and I love that he's like, she has 100% of my trust. And I think that's where I'm working it out in my brain right now. It's not just that the captain is always right, it's Captain Janeway, because he has enough evidence of their history that her wild hunches and her instincts are solid. They are good. When she goes the direction, you follow her, because historically, she's right. She does get it right more often than not. So I think that's where I land. I love it though. I really do.
With perspective, we know that it was actually Chakotay and Paris that cinched this one. It wasn't her leaving the nebula limping along. They could have spent more time repairing, and then they would have gotten the message from Paris. They would have been a little bit further away, maybe, from the ship, but they would have gotten there. They could have done the same exact thing and had a repaired ship. I think her sense of urgency and quickly getting to her next thing is super dangerous sometimes, but I don't think that matters when you're talking about like command roles. It really comes down to, in a similar way, why in business classes and business conversations, I would often hear people say this, which I have since adopted as advice for people as well, which is that you never want to do a 50-50 split of a company. You want it to be 51-49. Because there needs to be somebody who gets to make the final say. Otherwise, you end up just in a stalemate during critical decision making. And when it comes to the ship, it's similar. Somebody has to make the call. Janeway is making the call. And unless there's evidence of her doing something outside of what is expected, then I don't know what you would do, especially when you're in this situation where everything is unexpected because the ship is falling apart.
Yeah.
So we're really in uncharted territory on all levels as far as a Star Trek viewer. I'm not used to seeing, things like this. She should have let the doctor hold her back. She should have done these things to maybe help stabilize the ship a little bit longer for the crew that was still manning it. It's an interesting thing to watch her be a captain, but I thought she was absolutely reckless. And
yes,
the only thing that I really feel is respect for Star Trek to show us a reckless captain in this way. Like, that's a fun thing to see. I'm so used to buttoned up Picard. This is like impassioned impulse in a way, but I mean, obviously she has a plan, and for the most part it works, but it leads her to send her crew to other alien species and battle ramming into a space weapon.
I one of the my favorite internal kind of arguments I have in my head in this episode is how closely she still clings to being a captain and in Starfleet, but any resemblance of how a command structure works and like what your duty is out of the window. Like, she's completely disregarding the doctor's request to relieve her. It's not even a request, it's an order. You're being relieved. You don't just leave one person on the ship. Like, she's still holding on to something, but it isn't Starfleet anymore. Like, I kind of love seeing those layers get stripped away completely. They're meeting in the mess hall just to have an update once a day because they're just in this war footing, just trying to get to the next point. I it's so rare that we see, like you said, a captain completely down like that and just completely reckless, just absolutely swinging for the fences. And it's almost like she already knows my only hope is to blow that ship up. Like the only shot we've got, and it doesn't matter what else happens. It doesn't matter how much of the ship is left. It doesn't matter if I take a shuttle pod. I will put myself into a torpedo and launch myself into that ship if it means resetting this. But I can't do that from this nebula that is killing us by 1,000 paper cuts. I've got to get out there and be proactive about it.
There's a clever thing that the writers do as well to give us Tuvok's confidence, because then we can kind of bolster our own a little bit. Like if the crew is all showing confusion, showing fear, but then resolve because they're rallying to do this plan that the captain has, then it gives us a sense of like, okay, we're going to be all right, you know? And then of course we've got this juxtaposition of this very capable ship that Chakotay and Paris are on, and this feast that they're having in these like, this technology. So we're kind of out of the survival mode of it in the second half of this two-parter, because and I think that's needed. Like we need a little bit of a palate cleanser from being in survival mode the whole time. Like it's watching Janeway pick up a shield and run into a room on fire to restore the deflector shields was incredible. Like
I love that moment so much.
I'm gonna skip ahead and give my sin for that. Like, how do we not have any flame, like fire hose? Like what? Yes.
Oh, fire extinguisher.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is that not on a ship? Just where there are phaser bays where you can just hit the little panel and little phasers pop out.
Maybe it's because like the ship usually gets rid of fires itself, that you're so reliant on that you forgot about manual fire extinguishers. But I don't buy it. There should be something like the little deck platings.
But yeah, it was that particular episode, that part of the episode was very intense, because I am believing that this captain is going, we're not going to make it unless I do this. This is going to hurt. I'm going to phone ahead and tell the doctor to be ready for whatever happens next, and I'm going to go in and do what needs to get done. And you believe she's going to do that because we saw her with the gas earlier. We believe that because of how we've seen her push through everything for the whole entire, series. But that was a really like intense moment. So I think we need to have the intensity of survival, the confidence of the crew, and then, I don't know. It was all kind of working for me, but it was a very intense episode again. I'm not surprised. It was an intense series.
You have like Chakotay being able to have these philosophical discussions where Janeway, you're right, the juxtaposition of, well, I'm literally fighting fires over here. I don't have time to talk about the morals of switching off the doctor because he's gonna try and relieve me. Like I'm just in survival mode. I'm sorry, I'm working on reactions here, but I've got to keep going and like breathing through the nebula, because there's no second chances. I either deal with this right now, take that my lungs are going to implode, and then just move on to the next thing. And I love the fire moment so much because she is pleading with Voyager. Like she's just like, please be kind. Like be kind. And Kate Mulgrew is so fucking good. She's such a good actor. And it is brave, but it's not this reckless bravery. She does not want to do this. She's like, guys, given the option, I really don't want to run into this fire. But she's so methodical about it. And she's like, okay, if I'm going to do it, right, I've got the shield. Voyager, sign of the Starfleet Cross, be kind to me. Doctor, look, I'm coming in hot with burns. Like, just be ready for it. And she just puts as many things into place. So there's a bit of me that disagrees, even with the doctor's diagnosis, that she's being reckless, because she was so methodical. It's like, if I'm going to do this, I pray to my deity of choice, which is my ship. I get a shield, and I prep the doctor for what's next. That wasn't, I'm running in to fix this problem, be down with the consequences.
Yes.
Like she calculated.
Yes.
Okay, either all the ship goes or I do this. So I can't, I get what the doctor was going for, but I wanted almost a little bit more clap back from Janeway of like, no, that was logical. That was the only choice in that moment.
I think the intensity of all these situations with Janeway is why the Tuvok hug, to circle back to that,
Oh,
really hit me hard. The music is working for me, the
hmm,
goodbye is working for me, but it was when she hugs him, there's this moment, talk about her good acting. There's this moment when you can kind of see that she lets the wall down and she lets herself feel what it means to say goodbye to this person, to anybody, to face what's next,
yeah,
all of the things you can assume that she would be thinking about. And you can see it just stuns her. And then she's just stumbling to collect herself to not fall apart. And I was like, wow, that really struck me in that moment
yeah,
because she showed her humanity in the stupidity of wanting to stay on Voyager because it's an inanimate object she loves, and that I agree with Tuvok. Just leave the ship. But
leave the ship.
so she's showing her humanity in those kind of weird things that we can do sometimes. But I think she also knows that they need her ship in the fight more than the like I kind of wish she would have said, "Yes, it's dumb to think about this ship as home and have given us life and have memories here that I don't want to die, but also I still have 6 torpedoes, so I'm gonna use those," you know?
Right. I
Like
am a hunk of metal. I am a target. I am multiple. I'm adding to the amount of targets that we have. Like there is some logic to staying behind, but I also love the respect that Tuvok has for her. That
yes.
okay, I don't agree with you, but I respect it. Live long and prosper. And oh man, I feel their friendship as much as I feel Data and Geordie's, Spock and Kirk. It's such a beautiful relationship. I love it so freaking much.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of history with Voyager, but that moment really worked for me.
Yeah.
That particular moment of them and he just, like, he's like a stone statue, and then you
Mm.
just see his hands
Oh my god. Oh,
just a little bit come up.
returning the hug.
And I think that's when she kinda realizes that he's going to the next level, and it was right then that I was thinking about Vulcans. So,
Yes. Okay.
I'm I'm used to seeing a human Vulcan.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Spock would stand still because he's really leaning into his Vulcan nature,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
he might be very aware of that desire, also the human part to just, like, connect, but because of what he's attempting to hold on to, he's not gonna emote like that,
Yeah.
whereas I think Tuvok is fully Vulcan, am I right?
Tuvok is 100%
Right.
Vulcan, yes.
So then this gesture, it's like, I'm gonna do this gesture because logic tells me that you need this gesture.
Oh, yes.
He himself doesn't need to
No.
have the comforting hug. He doesn't need to have that, but he's doing it because of a logical reason to give
Mhm.
something to her, which is this. And I think that's when her eyes change and she sort of has this revelation. And that really just got me because sometimes you
Mhm.
do sacrifice for somebody like
Yeah.
that. For Tuvok, it's all right, I'm gonna do this thing. And it was just I don't know. It was a really powerful moment.
No, I think it's great. I think you're completely right. It's what Janeway needs in that moment. If that bolsters her for the battle to come and gives her a little bit more life, then it served its purpose. Like the hug was worth it. And
Yeah, he knows it's almost over. Sarah in chat said he cries. He is feeling his. Did he cry? Did I
did
miss
he
that?
cry? If he did, I missed it. If
I
he
missed it
sheds
if
a
he cried.
tear, oh my
That would be
gosh.
surprising to me.
I mean, we know that the emotions are there. Like Vulcans have
Considering in
them,
his
they just suppress them.
his tear ducts are completely just burned out of his
Non-existent.
face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After the torpedo, there shouldn't be any liquid left in his body.
Chat says Sarah says she wiped his tears from his face.
Oh, I didn't
I
see
didn't think
that.
that
I
the
thought he was
tears.
just she was holding it.
Yeah, I thought she was just like touching his face, which that was another sin that I had. So I'll just spoil that. Like touching without consent. I understand this is your goodbye, but
I feel like that's correct. Yes, especially with a Vulcan. I feel like they would need consent to be touched. Just one last thought on the humanity of Janeway. Like I really love and always think about the watch moment as well when they're going to Chakotay's quarters after they're doing their like assessment of how fucked the ship is, which is a lot, by the way. 37 EPS conduits need repairing. And yeah, she picks up the watch, doesn't recycle it, wears it, and keeps it as like a memory of what was, why she's doing this. I loved it. It could have it was a great callback to part one and how Chakotay disobeyed an order to recycle it and kept it and made that choice for her, and it hit her. She doesn't get mad. It just kind of hits her right in the feels.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with their relationship to kind of go off of. So, like for me, I read that moment as her looking at this going, this was just a few months ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And it's potentially like coming across something in your house that you forgot you have. And instead of just moving beyond it quickly, you stop and you think about where you were when you got it. And
Yeah.
there's a flood of potential like feelings and memories. You're reminded who you were in that moment. That's how collections work for me, which is why I have so much stuff.
Yeah.
But stopping and thinking about it, like, like there's a clock right here for me. It's something I picked up at a thrift store. I know the city that I was in. I know who I was with. I know who I was visiting. And I know why I picked it up. I think it's a unique and interesting thing. It's an old alarm clock. It's the kind where it has like the little thing that the hammer that goes back and forth between the two bells when it goes off.
Nice.
I think it's interesting. So I'm watching that going, oh, she's reminded of who she was and what was going on in that time. And then, yes, to wear it as a badge of who she wants to be and her inspiration. I like how she talked to Neelix too. She says, "How does it look?" She's not really, and he said, "Handsome."
Handsome.
So I thought that was just a nice little exchange between all of them. That worked for me too.
It's a little light moment in a very, very like everything on Voyager is really, really heavy, but it is sprinkled with these light moments, like the Neelix making the drink for them, and it's too much just like it is interesting. Harry's like, I love it. He does not, and Sim's just like, it is offensive. So great.
Yeah, it's so great.
Her line delivery is amazing.
I think when I reflect on all the different characters of this episode, they're all working for me. Even the person, I can't remember his name, but we're going to call him Orbit's Gum, the second commander to the bad guy.
Yeah.
I believe his arc, because we saw, and I think I even called it that there was going to be like some inner turmoil that would lead to the downfall of this time ship. I believe why. I believe these people are done with the trying. They're ready to finish. They're ready to no longer watch these sequences of events, kind of happen. And so the degradation of the ship, the falling apart of the plan, how it's all kind of coming together in the end, the buildup worked for me. How did you feel? I know you've seen this many times, but how did it feel for you to have like Paris and the message? He and Chakotay are kind of butting heads, and then you've got like Orbit's Gum coming in with Anthrax guy, and like, how is all that hitting for you?
I think it's really deliberately plotted out, and I don't think there's much wasted time or space. Like, there aren't a lot of like new characters that you're really introduced to. There's only really Anthrax and Obrist, and they're the two important characters that you need. The setup in episode 1, that 98% time adjustment that they do is so crucial and so good, because you are all of the way there. Like, your wife was a casualty of war. Sorry, my dude. Sucks. 98% restoration of the timeline. After 200 years of doing it, and then to throw it away and to start cheering for a 50% restitution in this episode. Like, I always think back to that. Like, that's the moment that's Obrist snapped. I half expect him to like go to the wall, reach a phaser, and shoot Anthrax dead. It's like 98%. Are you kidding me? So I just think it's a really, really tight script. And yes, you could say that it's very, very convenient that Tom is getting so much information from Obrist. Like, he's getting shield modulations, communications. We don't have any of those conversations, but I'm kind of okay not seeing that. They have their little game of alien chess together. They bond a little bit, but we have a lot of arguing between Chakotay and Anorax, and that's the really entertaining and philosophical, intellectual stuff that I was enjoying. I don't need to see Tom begging Oberys to come over to his side. Like
Right, I didn't
we've had
either.
that conversation 1,000 times. What we
Yes.
haven't had is the temporal mechanics stuff with Anorax. So I think it's really deliberately, each scene is very, very deliberately thought out and executed well. And I think this works as a great two-parter.
There's also a similar theme between the both of the ships where order
Yes.
of who's in charge is in question, because you've got Paris and Chakotay, who technically have their order and rank, and they're at odds. You've got the temporal ship struggling with when their captain has gone too far, and a clear example of when he has gone too far. Then you've got Janeway on her own journey of what is too far, again, in this very strange situation. And everyone is trying to figure out, like, when everything is going perfectly fine, the order that previously was makes sense. But when you have anything happen, the order is supposed to provide a sense of structure through the chaos and through the confusion and through the event. When that chaos becomes a destruction of the ship itself, becomes a year-long survival nightmare, when does the command break down? Like, when does that happen? This episode says it doesn't happen on one ship, and it does on the other. So because the ship is part of what it's saying, that Voyager stayed true to their captain and was successful, and the temporal ship did not stay true to their captain, and so they failed. And because if they had stayed true to the captain, they would have wiped out their enemies, and we would only be seeing Chakotay and Paris in a brand new episode of Voyager every week, and no one would tune in.
And nobody would know. No, literally nobody would watch that show. And it's right, because Oberys, you can do it for 1,000 years. Like, you can just keep on doing this until you get to that 100%. And maybe he would have done it. But you're right. Like, Voyager is on, you could argue, the moral mission. Like, she's not trying to kill anyone. And that crew stays true to her, not trying to kill anybody out of spite.
I think she is trying to kill someone.
Yeah, she's absolutely trying to kill everybody on that ship, but she has a righteous mission. Whereas Oberys, like, is now deluded. Like, he is so far gone. And I really like the wrestling that he does with Chakotay about how far wrong he's gone. Like, the way he would justify, they were never really alive because I wiped them from time. Like, that is some next level, like, rationalization, if you can pull that off. And he really, really believes it.
He's also been doing it for 200 years. So this isn't somebody who just made their first meteorite accident. Like, this is somebody who's made thousands of mistakes.
Well, the very first time he did it, he killed his wife. Like, that's a steep learning curve.
Like 50 million or something of the people all wiped out because he took out the enemy, but then they also didn't get an antibody for a disease that ended up wiping almost all of them out. And that was the beginning of that journey.
Yeah. So clever.
Yeah, it's a really clever take on why the bad guy's plan. You know, the villain's plan in this one was pretty clear. And a unique approach as well, trying to just put things back exactly how you had it, with the only change being the bad guys can't exist because we want to overcome them, and I want these things. So
putting temporal Humpty Dumpty back together. But I mean, I like I said, I buy this villain's plan. I buy how he got to where he is. And it's all completely self-imposed. It's not like they killed my family and that's why I'm going to erase them. He killed his family and he's trying to fix that.
He killed everybody.
He killed all of them. And I really, really love the buffet scene, because we see so many of these dinner table setups where they get fed and they pontificate over food. But this one is so meaningful because he's gathered all of the food from the people that he's extinguished and killed. And I don't get a sense that it's guilt or remorse, but he's also not justifying it. He's just like, I feel the weight of it. And I love and this is Kurtwood Smith just being an incredible actor. He is just saying, I recognize their loss, I acknowledge it, I carry it with me, but I wasn't getting like, do you know how guilty I feel? Do you know how it feels to do this? Like, no, it's the burden of being temporal God. Like,
Yeah.
that's what he's communicating, but he still does it. Like, he's still gonna keep doing it until it works.
Yeah, that was the scene where it's more about understanding that the ship isn't just a weapon. It's not just this incredible technology. He calls it the Museum of Lost History.
Yes.
That
Oh, it's so
it's
good.
cultures, species, all of them are represented in this table where it's the last of that civilization that will ever be known because
Yeah.
he's wiped them out of existence. So now when the show ends, it has reset back to before he has completed his calculations to
Mhm.
even attack. And I think the implication is that that particular morning he kept working and maybe came across the solution, but instead he chose to go out with his wife. That was kind of in my imagination what I thought they were trying to kind of imply, but
Yeah, I really struggle with that's the actual ending that I struggle with, is the flashback. I guess it has to be a flashback to him designing the weapon. And what core this is where like I love time travel so much, but my brain wants answers for everything because what if Janeway, if that's reset the timeline, it all happens again.
that was my question as well, which is that is why I thought it was implying that he chose to spend time with his wife because he was regretting not having spent more time with her.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But why? Why is that like did that always happen and he just goes back to his office and finishes it? Because then you're stuck in this loop. The two things that change potentially is that he goes out to dinner, goes out and spends the day with his wife, and that Krenim ship bumps into Voyager at the right time and tells them to move, and they agree. That's different from the first timeline, but I don't know why those things happened. I don't know why they happened differently to break this loop caused by Anorax.
well, the loop had already been impacted by the time they got there the first. And like when this episode kicked off, episode 1 kicked off, he had already been messing with the timeline, I thought. So
Correct.
we
Yes.
never saw what the pure version of meeting was. This was it. Was meeting that the person who's like, "Hey, we're having a little bit of dispute." She's like,
Uh-huh.
"Okay." So now we're seeing what would have happened had he never enacted the machine.
But we don't. But that's. But he has enacted the machine because that back on the
So does
planet is 200 years ago.
so
That's
does
in the
that
past.
does that mean then that somehow we were in the future and we went back back in time to
Yeah.
reset?
No, no, but it's never explained. But I do think that it has to be. He's been at it for 200 years. So if we're going back to showing him doing his calculations on his little pad, that has to be 200 years in the past. But I don't know what changed that means he's now spending the day with his wife and maybe never completes the machine, because he has to have not completed the machine in order for Voyager to not be disabled by the Krenim ship when it gets suddenly turned into the huge thing.
So was he from the past or did he go to the past? Was a question in chat.
Neither. I mean, he's from the past in the sense that we all are. Like, he's been alive for 200 years doing this stuff. The rest of the galaxy has moved forward 200 years, but he hasn't aged because while they're on that ship, they don't age. They're immune from the effects of time.
So
So
is
when the
the
ship blows
idea,
up, that cut at the end is 200 years ago.
but it's 200 years ago, but it's now. So do you think that that's the idea, is that we didn't go back in time, it's just recreated that world then?
No,
Okay.
I don't think that. There's no reason to think that. There's reason to believe that he doesn't create the ship, but we don't know why he doesn't create the ship, other than maybe it is just, and I think this is what it probably has to be, on a whim. Time can be affected by the whim of a moment, and that day is the day that he catches inspiration. You know what? This makes sense because when he says to Chakotay that I had an inspiration last night, if we destroy this species, and that leads to the 50% restoration of the timeline, and Chakotay gets mad. Maybe in that moment he was going to follow a line of inspiration that created the time ship, but
Potentially.
in this timeline he decides to spend the day with his wife and he never gets that inspiration. So that actually would be supporting the idea that time is fucking with him and decided this time you're spending the day with your wife and you're not going to create the time ship. I feel like that's what it's saying, that on a whim the entire timeline could have changed.
I kind of wish the last shot was not just a zoom in on the pad.
Yes.
But it was a zoom in on the pad and then a cat walking across the screen and deleting it.
Error. Just beep, 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 just peeing on it. But because it's that last zoom in is really ominous. And it's like, yeah, no, I know who that character is. I didn't think he was working on an apple pie recipe. I knew he was working on temporal calculations. Like, it wasn't a big shock to get that zoom in. But I think it should have put more emphasis on, like, maybe he just kind of looks at me and he's just like, huh, yeah, I guess I will go out today. Like, I think more emphasis needs to be that is the difference between the timeline we've just experienced where he creates the ship and the new timeline where Voyager gets to go free. Or just a wind comes in and fucks the pad off.
Yeah, something has happened. It is an interesting idea to think that the show could be hinting that time is a moody bitch.
Yeah, I love it. I love that idea. Because I've always wondered why don't we go back into that loop? Because he's clearly working on it and he's just going to build it again.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it could happen all over again, but this time it's going to happen when Voyager is going a different way and we would never know because it's just happening over here and someone's being timey-wimey.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so far away, we're just not impacted by it.
Oh, I've got sins about that. I'll get into that. I have a couple of final thoughts. You've recently watched Generations with me. The first TNG movie. Oh, she's not going to remember it. Life forms.
I mean, I know that scene.
Oh yeah, that was a terrible scene.
So much.
So this is Soren and the energy web that goes through space, and he's destroying suns.
Yes,
to get back to the Nexus.
Yes.
I've only just realized on this watch through that this is so similar to Generations, because you have somebody that is destroying entire planets to alter the course of this thing so that he can get back to his family in the Nexus. Like, I wanted to mention the similarities between Year of Hell and Generations really stood out to me this time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that in particular, but I'm sure it would be a motivation for many people to try to relive some of their best times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My final image that's always in my head is gosh dang Voyager just getting absolutely murked and wrecked. I haven't even got the image for it. That's so annoying.
Is it the last one where before she battle rams it?
That final shot.
It's so good.
Where the alien ship crashes across Voyager's bow and then blows it to fuck. And just the final, and I'd never seen a starship do this the first time I watched Year of Hell, because you don't, even when the Enterprise blows up in TNG and cause and effect, you don't really see it. It's in a cloud. You'll see like a nacelle blow up maybe, but this is full crumple zone, people. Voyager just goes nose deep and the impact separates the nacelle. So the nacelle overtakes Voyager and hits the ship as well. It was such a creative way to blow up the ship. Instead of just boom, explosion, it is like painstakingly a slow death where it just plows into the ship and then just gets absolutely crumpled, decompiled, exactly where Janeway is. And she's just like obviously dead. But there's just that little touch of the nacelle separating as well. And just pew! Love it. Love that final shot so much. So
yeah, the shot when she sits in her chair and she looks forward and there's nothing in front of her but a force field and the enemy. And you're like, this is it. This is her last Hail Mary. And it ends up working.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel
And
like no, go on.
I also like that she said, remove your temporal shields, because if this blows and causes an impact, you want to be impacted by it.
What a great last message to send out. Like, Tuvok's fucked. Like, Tuvok, Kim, like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I think they still get like, there's still a version of them that exists on Voyager, but these two ships that are left with a duplicate Tuvok, a duplicate Doctor, and a 7 of 9, Balana, all of them, if they hadn't turned their shields off, would be out and about in space still, I think. It's so interesting to think about. And of course, time's up. I love it so much. Give me the cheese. Give me, like, you've earned it, Janeway. Time's up. Love it. Love it so much. I'll give it to you. Anything else, Ambassador, before we do some pippage?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. I would say that I still think that this would be a really interesting first couple of episodes to show someone for Voyager.
Yes.
But I think it's one where you could show them the first episode and then see if they want to do more. And then you can always come back to it later.
You've after the escape pods lead, I don't leave. I don't know how you don't want to watch more. Like, I really love the ending of that first part.
Yeah, I think it's really, really intense. I'm glad we get to binge these days and we don't have to wait an entire week in between.
Even though that's what we had to do this week.
Yes. But it's definitely something if you wanted to sit down. I really still feel that way after watching both of them.
Nice. So. Yeah, I really, really agree. And that actually inspired the eventual picking of next week's episode, which we will get to at the end of this episode, of course. One last final thing, because I'm such a nerd. I just love that the gas at the beginning of the episode is pink because they're in a pink nebula, which is a really, really nice choice. Like, the nebula is invading the ship and it's pink gas because they're in a pink nebula. And I love it. And it's a really nice touch. That is some people talking to each other in the visual effects department and the practical effects department. Synergy. I love it. Pink nebulas. Pips.
4, I still think it's a great. I don't think they missed anything in the second part. I don't think they dropped any balls that were handed off in part 1. I think it goes exactly where it needs to make sense to the part of my brain that makes Star Trek logical. I think the Doctor needs to question Janeway. I think Janeway needs to show how far she's willing to go to save a ship. The crew needs to have those conversations, and we need to have a solution. More understanding about the ship, the purpose of the bad guy, and a resolution at the end that feels somewhat satisfactory. I feel like it really did a great job, and I'm glad that we watched it. I was a little nervous going in, as you know, but I feel really good about it. So yeah, I'm going to go 4 pips. This was really, really good.
Yeah, I think this one actually picks up the balls that were thrown, mixing metaphors all over the place, by the first episode, and actually introduces some of its own balls as well. Like I said at the top of the show, really getting philosophical with everything, diving into the deep, deep questions, which typically get kind of dealt with a lot in the first part, so that you can have lots of action in the second part. So yeah, it is. It's 4 pips for me as well. This is one of my favorite 2-parters of all time. It is heavily on my Voyager rotation. There's so much visually that you never get to see. There's great philosophical questions. I wish it wasn't Chakotay having the discussions, but we can't have everything that we want. Like, I'd love 7 of 9 to have been there, but 7 of 9 was very new. Tuvok maybe, but then you missed the Tuvok hug with Janeway. So yeah, I think everyone is where they needed to be. It's a really efficient episode. Love it so much. However, there are of course sins, so it's over to engineering to do some of them. Battle stations red alert. You forgot that bit. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sim brains, remind ourselves that no TV shows have outseen even our beloved Star Trek. Ambassador.
Well, I mentioned a couple, so why don't you start? Because I mentioned a couple in the moment.
Is this the hologram trying to relieve me of command? I'll turn your program off.
No, I didn't really have much, but I'm going to go back through. So
I have got the naivety of the Doctor telling her to rest for 2 days. I'm like, you think she's got 2 like, don't even try it. Like,
I
Like,
don't
you're gonna
know.
like give it 6 hours. Maybe you'll get 6 hours out of her. She's not resting for 2 days.
I kind of liked that because it reminds us that the doctor is a hologram
Mm-hmm.
who is designed to give medical advice in a pretty much normal situation, in which case you have 2 days to recover. What it almost showed a more of a flaw in their system that
Uh-huh.
this program can't think for itself in a
Yeah,
way. It
it
can't
can't get past
calculate
that.
these odds.
Yeah, these this is what the computer says that you should have. But my if I was going to rebut against that, is that he does have a heuristic programming and he's been with them for 3 years. Like, he's supposed to learn and adapt and get better and not just recite what's expected. And I feel like he should know Janeway well enough that you are not getting 2 days of rest out of her. And he's like, serious. It's not even like, you need 2 days, but I'll give you 6 hours. It's like 2 days or nothing. Like, that's it. You're staying here, full stop. So I just think there's a level of naivety there that yeah, no, I wouldn't stay put for 2 days. Craziness.
I'm reminded of that time that you like had something going on with your finger, and it was like, I was like,
Yeah.
you need to do something about that. And you're like, nah, it's fine. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, but you really need to, okay. And then the next day, you're like, man, this really hurts. I'm like, you need to do something about that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just see what happens. You need to do, and then it just got worse and
Yeah,
worse and
I
worse
got
and
bad.
worse until you finally said, so what were you telling me to do?
It was a week later. My finger was in agony, and I just came to you and I was like, the thing that you thought I should have done a week ago, do it now. I don't need to know what it is. Do it.
I said, okay, I'm going to need a needle,
Yes.
hot water,
A flame.
disinfectant, a flame,
Yeah.
and I'm going to need a bit of fabric to roll up so that you can bite into this.
Yeah, and here, bite on this. Yeah, exactly. I have myself to blame. Kate Mulgrew's coughs give me anxiety because they're so good. The way she's like hacking up a lung at the beginning of the episode, I was like, stop, we get it. I don't need that. Like, she must have actually hurt herself coughing so much.
I really like this one for the chat. So I'm going to steal sci-fi bronies and say this is a sin removal, and I was thinking it was a sin as well, but maybe I misread it. So let's read this one. The cosmic coincidence of Janeway saying inject me with trioxine, that should help me breathe a little easier, after we just covered Amok Time where McCoy supposedly injected Kirk with a triox compound to help him breathe a little bit easier.
That's a great pull. That's some great memory.
I did not put those two together while watching it. I love this comment, but when I read it the first time, I thought that it was a sin because what the doctor gave Janeway would have made
it should have sent her doolally. And maybe it did. Maybe it did send her doolally. Oh wait, no. This is the put him to. Oh, sorry. I've completely got my episodes confused. I thought it was the one where McCoy injects himself with a compound and then goes crazy and travels through time.
No,
this
what?
Is the one that fakes death. There we go. My brain.
This is the one with
yes,
and
puts Kirk to sleep. Yeah. Oh my god, if she just hit the deck, that would have been hilarious.
So funny. But that's when I was like, oh yeah, that's a sin because it's the same drug, but it put Kirk to sleep. And then I realized, oh no, he was talking about this triox whatever complex that is supposed to help breathe, and it's in both of these. So what an
that's a great coincidence. I had no clue. I had no clue that the same-ish drug would appear in back-to-back episodes. That's amazing. Love that coincidence.
You're next.
What have I got? Yes, I have got. I do just want to revisit that I just make the episode an hour long, okay? I know you can't do that, but you should make it an hour long so that we have 15 minutes of people making an alliance together. It's so jarring.
I don't know.
Jarring to just like out of the nebula. We have an army with us. Like, what? I want to see you do some stuff.
Barely an army, though. That really wasn't an army, was it?
I guess not. But the thing is, like, these poor ships, these poor bastards, know that they're going into a losing battle. So I don't know how they agreed. I don't know how they agreed to being part of this fight. Like, there's 4 ships. You're not going to do it. So maybe they're the last of their species, but I don't understand how that's possible either. But yeah.
Interesting.
I want to see more of that. I want to see Janeway build some alliances, but I also want this episode to be an hour and a half long. So there you go.
There you go.
I do just want to quickly bring up Sean's point. No fair should have had Up the Long Ladder today, which is a very Irish episode of Star Trek. However, there is no way Up the Long Ladder appears in anybody's list of favorite episodes. And if it's in your favorite list of episodes, shame on you, but email me.
Also, I think that's the first time I've seen someone do one of those paid chat things. So
yeah, I didn't even know what that was, but it's a different color. I love it. Thank you very much, Sean. A worthy comment as well.
I kind of want to cover a comment that we had later on, because I mentioned the hair thing. And then Sarah went and looked it up.
Yes.
Said, Danae, you were right. As his ship is erased, Anarax witnesses his wife's lock of hair vanish and appears to realize the significance of what is about to happen. Reversing all of his changes will bring Anarax's wife back as well, fulfilling his ultimate goal. And it was said that was coming off of the internet somewhere. So if that was actually an intentional part of the episode, I think that's really, really interesting. And I would definitely be giving a sin-off for the symbolism there.
Yeah, I've never like kind of with that kind of framing, I've never looked at his face and had that in my mind of maybe he's relieved, maybe he's happy, and maybe he's like, man, why didn't I think of that? Why don't I just blow up the damn ship? And then, but I think actually, I know why, because as far as he knows, it resets time so he builds the ship again. There's no reason to think that this time around it would be different because time should happen exactly the same way. In fact, he should be convinced that time would fuck him even harder and make it even like he never had a wife to begin with. There was no wife to lose. I'm just saying, I don't know, but I do love that. I love that interpretation. I want to talk about the comet. The comet that Chakotay happened to delete. Was going to delete. There's a lot of comets out there, people. There's a lot of space junk. There's a lot of things. It is insane to me that Chakotay picked the one comet that pollinated basically half the Delta Quadrant. 8,000 species is a lot. That is a lot of species. And that's got to be across a large region of space because we know habits aren't that inhabitable. So it is crazy that this one comet, like he stumbled upon like the astronomical discovery of the millennia. Like this one comet pollinated everything in that sector. Bad luck, Chakotay.
Bad luck.
We're not doing Fairhaven either.
Oh my God, Sean.
That's amazing. That's another very Irish episode. Although I would do Fairhaven before I did Up the Long. Nah, I would do Up the Long Ladder before I did Fairhaven. That's amazing.
Oh my God, you're cracking me up.
So great.
Send off for Kate Mulgrew showing us how desperate and stressed Janeway gets through each time jump.
Oh, I love it.
I love that. And by time jump, you mean just forwarding in the next few days?
Yeah, day 200.
Yeah.
Day 300, whatever. Yeah, more and more haggard. I love it. What have I got next? Okay, this is one for my nerds out there. The Anarax has been manipulating time and doing stuff for 200 years. Why hasn't the Department for Temporal Affairs like poked its nose in? Why aren't there time travelers from the future, which we know exist, intervening, interested, like stealing his time ship? Like this weapon is quite good. It's quite a good weapon to have on your side. So I'm just amazed there aren't other time people that are like, that's weird. There must be somebody that can scan the crazy shit that's happening. Or Q should maybe be like, don't do that. That's a Q power. Stop it.
It's pretty amazing. Here's a sin from Sarah. Mr. Anthrax says, I will kill everyone. And Chakotay says, oh my God, I can fix him.
I love that so much. Well done, Chakotay. Committed a bit.
I didn't really because I don't know a lot about Chakotay, I wasn't understanding like his motivations. And I genuinely thought while watching this that he was like hiding his true intentions of getting closer to Anthrax to learn more about the weapon and be able to take it offline or do something. But it really just turns out he just wanted to know more, and he actually was defending um the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that was disappointing for me. So I lost some respect for whatever that character could have been in my imagination.
I love that it's taken 2 episodes to lose respect for Chakotay. That's 2 episodes longer than most people. The problem, one of the biggest problems with Chakotay is he is whatever the episode needs him to be. He is one of those characters that when they did decide to flesh him out, it was so random and it was very, very kind of late in the day. He does get some in season 1, but it's marginally problematic, and he often just fits into a slot that the episode needs. It's not like, man, this is what Worf would do in this moment. This is what Data would do in this moment. It's like, man, we need somebody for this moment. I guess it can be Chakotay.
To piggyback on that, another one from her was Tom talking sense into Chakotay. Tom talking sense into Chakotay. That's how you know you're in deep trouble.
Yes. Tom should never be right. Tom should never be on the right side of history. You know you've gone wrong. Link mentioned this earlier, but I framed it slightly differently. Link asked in the chat, where did he get the food from that's on the table? If he's wiped everyone out, did he just like pop down to the planet? Did he just beam up some food and be like, well, this is suspicious. Why did my dinner just get beamed up? Oh, I don't exist anymore. But on the back of that, how did he get his wife's hair?
I'm assuming that he kept it like on his person as a memento of some kind.
Oh, I guess he didn't wipe her from existence.
No,
she died later.
She died of I thought she died of the disease.
Oh, like, she did. Yeah. That's how he got the hair. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because otherwise he would have had to know ahead of time. Yeah. why are you taking my hair? No reason, just in case. I might fuck this up.
It's a really common thing for people generations back to keep the hair of their loved ones. Did you have this in your family too?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so, I think they had a lot. I think my parents had a lock of my hair.
Okay. My great aunt passed away years ago, and she had a bunch of things. She was a collector of sorts. And one day we were going through them and just opened up a bag, and it's just locks of hair.
Oh my gosh.
All these different like little we have no idea who they were from. Probably kids, children, mothers, fathers, brothers. Right,
because anyone. The alternate is that she was a serial killer. Like that's the 2 options. It's either very sweet or very creepy.
So my point is that I saw the hair and I was like, oh, that's like a little memento. I thought it was a worm. I thought it was a woolly worm. But
you did. Yeah.
Once I realized it was hair after you spoiled it for me, I was like, oh, okay. So that's like a memento of someone, you know. But I mean, I cut Iris's hair the first time. I put her hair in like a little braid, and then I cut it to make it shorter, and I kept it. And I'm like, am I the weird one now? I also have her teeth that fell out of her face. Like, is that weird?
The teeth is weird.
It's something that we do. We keep things.
Yeah.
But then at what point is it weird?
I don't think you can make a judgment call on it being weird. I think some people are going to react viscerally to it because the idea of teeth is creepy, but it holds value to you. That is like the definition of a moral value judgment. Like whatever works for you, whatever holds value for you, you can't call it creepy. But yeah, it's fucking creepy.
I mean, in my head, I do the thing where I'm like, at least it's not a bag of hair.
I mean, but why? Why is that any stranger? Like, you've got teeth and hair in a bag. I think it's when she turns 18, you're just like, here you go.
Oh, man, chat's burning me. Danae, it starts being weird when you keep dead pets in your freezer. Listen, it was a fish.
And it was just for a year.
I wanted to wait until the ground thawed.
Yeah, that's totally logical. But why is it still there now?
Oh, God.
How many teeth are we talking?
Let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, cool. Nice. No, that's pretty much. I've got like one that I can't quite get my head around. It's the fact that the time ship shouldn't be visible. Like it's out of phase with time, and yet Voyager and the New Alliance are just they're taking shots at it and attacking it. Visible. It shouldn't fucking be there. If it's out of phase of time, I feel like in any other episode, you have to bring it out of back into phase in order to be hit, and that wouldn't be hard to do because their weapons weren't having an effect anyway. But yeah, I didn't like that they could see the ship. I'm a nerd, okay?
It's fine.
Leave
It's
me alone.
totally fine.
Don't leave me alone. I should be talking about this on my own all the time. Anything else, Ambassador?
My biggest sin is that all of the bonding that has happened between Tuvok and Seven of Nine no longer exists at the end of this episode.
Oh, that's so true.
There is a bit of pain in the
Ugh.
reset. Yes, I'm glad that everybody is back and alive and healthy and the ship is put back together, and I am glad to see them continue on and hope, of course, that they can continue to build those bonds. But part of going through the survival of the last couple of episodes is really what amplified those two characters' relationship in particular.
Yeah.
And it's completely gone now. So yes, it exists in our memory, but in the timeline that they actually are in, they don't have that connection any longer. And I think that's a sin for me because I think it was a really beautiful thing.
I completely agree. The good thing is that they do have more moments like that, and it does continue. They do continue to bond and get close as a Borg and a Vulcan. So while you're right, we don't have that exact moment, there are more to come. But yeah, I agree. There's something beautiful about that isn't in their memories anymore. And that hug between Janeway and Tuvok isn't in their memories anymore. It's really, really special. We didn't super touch on, I can't remember if we did or not, but did you like the reset button ending? Because it's the biggest criticism that people have of the episode, that it's a big reset button at the end. It doesn't matter. Nothing that you watched happened. What a cop out. Why was I invested?
I would be really upset if this was a 5-book series and in the last paragraph of the 5th book it reset and nothing that I read mattered, because that would have been a massive investment of my time and my emotions and my mind and my imagination, because it's written and those require a lot more. Did you put your hand up like the stop?
Oh no, I said it was all a dream.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes in movies when it's all a dream, it also upsets me. But for example, Wizard of Oz being one of the most famous ones where it was all a dream, she wakes up and she's been concussed, but then is it also not? Because it's kind of a little parallel. There's a little bit of similarity. Those I can forgive a bit because it still exists in her imagination when she wakes up. So it wasn't that it didn't happen. It's that it was a dream and it did happen in the imagination sphere. In this case, we have a total reset, but it confused me because he hadn't seemed to invent the machine yet, which means like my perception of 200 years in time and all that stuff, like we talked about in this episode, like I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And I felt like it's just a doomed thing to repeat itself. So it felt like, okay, but I don't understand where I'm supposed to put the bad guy now in my mind, like in where he places. But I know that they're going to move on from it. So if I'm upset by anything, it's the big question mark of whether any of it matters.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I do not have a problem. No, go on.
Yeah, I'm okay with them hitting the reset.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm exactly that. I'm okay with the reset button. I think there's a point where everything's so fucked you have to hit a reset button. Flyboys just mentioned in the chat, and I just want to mention it is a really good idea. Having Voyager slowly be repaired over the next few episodes would have been more satisfying, but it's not what you did on TV in the 90s. And it's right. It wouldn't have made sense in syndication. Why is Voyager getting repaired? Why is it fucked up? Like that, that was too much at the time. But I think for me, this is like a novella. This is a short story inside of Star Trek. So I'm really happy it exists, and I'm fine with a reset button because this was an opportunity to break so much, to break Starfleet, break Captain Janeway, break Tuvok, break the ship, break time, do so much with it, knowing that you can reset it at the end. And for me, it really doesn't devalue anything. When I was younger, it did. It
Mm.
really, really annoyed me because I was like, I want to see them repair this, because I didn't really have the appreciation for like the bigger picture. But I also get why it's annoying. I get the frustration of in universe, none of it happened. So none of the trauma is carried forward. None of the memories are there. But I kind of, as I've grown, I step back from it a little bit and see it as an individual sci-fi story, almost separate from Star Trek, because the journey start to finish in this is so encapsulated for me. It's such a bottle episode inside of Voyager.
I agree. And I think it's okay sometimes to end a couple of episodes or even one episode with an unsettling end. It's kind of like when it zooms in on the pad at the end, I kind of can't stop thinking about that. What were they trying to tell us?
Yes.
What was the last message? That this guy is still going to develop this weapon. He's still going to wipe out an entire civilization of people. He's still going to lose his wife. All of this happens again. It's just that this time Voyager narrowly misses it because for some reason the conversation she had with that guy at the border was delivered to her in that exact moment, and it didn't trigger her, no, I'm going to do what I want feeling. Instead, like, because she just was like, okay, we'll go around, which was different. So just these little nuances that changed their trajectory. But if she had decided to go back through, I think we might still find ourselves in that. But again, I thought this episode started having already had the weapon developed. So I don't know where we are in time, and I'm confused about that.
Had. Yeah, at the very, you mean at the beginning of episode 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, the weapon has been in use, and he's been using it for 200 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a thing, but it clearly... So, it could still be out there, but maybe he invents it one day later, which means... Because the big problem that Voyager hits is that the tiny little ship that attacks them is aggressive, and she's got that other person on... No, so she leaves... meets up with the Andy Warhols. I can't remember the name of the walls or whatever, and then continues to push through. But yeah, that's it. But on this encounter, the Krenim ship doesn't open fire and is very polite. So maybe something Anarax has done this time round didn't change that person's temperament, caught him on a better day. Like, I feel like Anarax is still out there, but the changes he's made are different for some reason because he had that extra day with his wife. But it's like great episodes. It ends with a great conversation, but I do want to know what the intent was of the writer. Like, what in your head did that mean? Zooming in on the pad, what's changed? Why did Voyager get away with it this time? Is Anarax still out there doing his thing? Because the writer's the only one that knows.
We're kind of caught up in it, but if that is from that moment forward, that's this little region has just been resetting. So it's really just like 200 years ago is when things started to reset in that sector.
Yes, correct.
So when it reset this time, it's not that it just reset to that particular timeline. It just right there.
Yeah, and the whole reason he's doing it is to make his species more powerful. And the fact that the ship we see at the very end is a tiny ship means that they still aren't they're not the dominant power, it's the Zals.
Yeah, because he had created the weapon that killed the enemy, and in this one, where the 200 years resets and we're starting right here. So this little region is now bloop, we're right here, and they're right at the border, having not gone into the area that would have been affected. So whether 200 years passed there or not, it didn't really matter. They're now interjecting with this is the new start of this timeline.
Yeah.
They've just been frozen. Like, to them, it's just a sneeze, and then they just
nothing happened. Yeah.
And this is saying that from here forward, we don't know what's going to happen. He's either going to spend time with his wife, living his life, and be, and stop making this weapon, or maybe he will make it some other day.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's wild. I want to know. It's one of the big Star Trek questions I'd love to ask the writers. Just like, what was your intent? Like, we can have our own theories, but do you have something in your mind of how you think Anarax continues or not? I did just quickly, very, very, very quickly remind me that, Jesus, why didn't you just go around Krenim space to begin with? Like, that seems like...
she was pissy.
It's so like...
She was being vindictive.
That, like, reinforces the sin that we had last week about her being a bit of a dick. Like, respect their borders. Like, I think it's because the Zol was like, well, it's not actually their territory. They're claiming something that isn't theirs. But just stay clear of the dispute, Janeway. Just if you can plot a course around, plot a course around.
But also, interestingly, I thought that the previous episode also essentially started off with them having already gone into that space room and seeing that they could get through territory. And in this one, it wasn't quite ready yet.
Yes, that timeline has shifted,
So
I think.
maybe because Janeway hadn't seen the technology, she wasn't as antsy to go through space. They hadn't plotted a course yet.
Yeah.
So at this end of this two-parter, there is no course to plot. There's nothing stopping them from just being like, yeah, we'll just go around, because they don't know that it's going to save them 50 years.
Maybe that's it.
Because they don't know that yet.
And all of that is in 60 seconds. All of that happens so quickly. It's a lot to take in.
And I don't quite understand why that would have been delayed. But I guess according to this theory is that time, being some sort of entity that gets to decide these things, said, I'm going to set you here and I'm going to set you guys here, and we're going to see what happens this time. And that's just what we have to accept for this episode. I think it's a really interesting thing to think about. Does it work for me? Yes. Do I like having answers? Yes, I do. I like to know. I don't like cliffhangers at the end of material, because I want to know what the ending is. Usually that's kind of like more of my preference. But yeah, as I get older, I also like to read between the lines as well and go, that was just a good story. Like I can't deny that this was a good story, and it was good to see the characters. And also, if someone watches this and at the end they're like, okay, so now I know what Voyager is like, but that never happened, that might be also more of a reason for them to watch other material too. Who knows?
Yeah, I get it. Yep. I'm so happy you love this episode. It warms my heart because I love it so much. So, of course, it makes me happy when it connects with you. I love it even more on this watch. This is the first time I've really gone in sin brain and analyzed it. I think it holds up. I think it could come out today. If Strange New Worlds did this, it could come out today and be an incredible two-parter with no changes at all. Yeah, I love it.
If it was a Strange New World situation, you'd have a very similar theme coming, where you would have Pike, who has hand selected his number one, who trusts him no matter what. Yes. And he would do whatever he needed to do. And the crew would be like, okay, I mean, it's not what I would do. Yeah. And they would respect his decisions. There is something really interesting about having Janeway as a woman be just as respected in her captain decisions as Pike would.
Absolutely.
So I would still like to see it, though. I would love to see another Star Trek show do the brave thing and fucking destroy their set, because that was fun.
It's the sign of a great episode that I want to see the TNG version. I want to see the Deep Space Nine version. I want to see the TOS version. I want to see every iteration of this happen with a different crew and how they would handle it.
It's
how would Picard handle this?
Right. It's kind of like whenever they introduce a really interesting villain like Q. Okay, I want to see how this crew interacts with Q. I want to see how this one, like meeting that chaos, but meeting the chaos of surviving a ship falling apart. I've just never seen that before, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think this is the strongest example of battle stations, emergency. How do we get through this?
Yeah.
Love it so much. Well, thank you. I believe it was Sarah, and I'm just going to say T via email because I don't want to give away their last name, for submitting that one. Apologies if anybody else submitted it as well and I didn't mention you. Thank you. You are appreciated. I knew when that was submitted we would be covering it this time around. Next week's episode, hard unapologetic shift into Deep Space Nine. The suggestion comes from David Ellis, who has been on the show and talked Star Trek with us. This is going to be season 7, episode 4. Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Oh God, is this about baseball?
This is a no spoilers. This is Deep Space Nine. I love this episode, and the reason I think it connects to Year of Hell is that I think it's a good introductory episode to Deep Space Nine that gives you a flavor of all of the characters, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you, David, for submitting that. Hey, if you want to, there's still time to submit your fan favorite Star Trek as well. Send it to captainspod@cinemasins.com. send it to the Captain's Pod channel on the CinemaSins Discord, discord.gg/CinemaSins. And yeah, we love you guys a lot. Keep sending us your emails, your thoughts, your episode suggestions. We love it so much.
Yes, and before we end today's episode, I do also want to say thank you for posting in the Discord about my ability to predict certain things. I was really surprised with this one. A lot of my predictions were just so right on for this, like what they did in this one. I'm like, man, I can see the future. And I saw the chat in the Captain's Pod Discord about me being able to predict things. So thank you.
Yeah, that Nick called out your ability to predict the Lower Decks finale and how that was going to focus on Rutherford. And Nick was blown away by you pulling out a Rutherford B plot from out of nowhere. Your brain should be studied by science.
But I'm also wrong a lot too. But when I get it,
but we don't talk about
I
those.
get it good. When I get it, I get it good.
Like any good psychic, we don't talk about the misses.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, until next week, I'm Captain Ian, and it is offensive from me.
Oh, no. And this is 1 year I'd like to forget from me. But not really. I loved it.
Live long and prosper. Sarah, I thought this was one of yours. Let me pull up Sarah's list. This is why I was so excited to do it as well, because I was like, we're finally doing...
Sarah, you've hurt Sarah.
Have I got my Sarahs confused? Where are you?
I think you slapped for keeping me honest. You are wrong all the time. But when you nail it, you nail it.
Oh, there are two Sarahs.
As a non-American, I know nothing about baseball, and I still like this episode. Good. How many Sarahs do you know?
I'm so sorry, Sarah. I've been outed as a multiple Sarah.
More TOS. Who is this other Sarah? Oh, triggered. Oh, boy.
Okay, Sarah, I found your email now. And I had it saved in the same place, but the other Sarah was higher up. I'm sorry. No, because they sent it more recently. I'm sorry.
You know what? Should I just kick him off the show?
No, but because that Sarah that emailed me also had TOS options on it. So I was like, oh, this has got to be TOS Sarah.
What's TAS?
The animated series.
Oh, that's right. She was higher up.
Oh, no. Sarah, I'm so sorry.
Wow. The fact that you're doing it to her face right now. Such bravery.
So sorry.
Oh my God.
I will flagellate myself. I prostrate myself before you all and apologize.
Hey, quick.
I'm so sorry.
Marie says you don't have to eat yourself like that. We're live.
Aggressively. Sean did have one more message. I love Sean just like pummeling us with messages like an absolute champ.
You're going to be able to be forgiven if you do an episode.
I promise we will end up doing one of your episodes, Sarah.
Moopsie versus Anorax. I think it's going to be Anorax. Because he would just delete Moopsie from existence.
It would be about timing. Like if he has enough time to delete Moopsie, like the answer to that would be, what's a Moopsie? Because he's already deleted them.
That's exactly right.
What's a Moopsie? I don't know. Sean has said we don't have to have an Irish episode. Just give me Danae Doggy Cam.
Oh my God, so badly. I want Danae Doggy Cam so badly. I need to figure this out. It's definitely it's high up on my list. One of the problems I have is that my computer tower has no USB ports. Like it is ported out. So I've got to figure out how to get a second computer that kind of comes in and is just a doggy monitor. I've got ideas, but it's also about money.
That too. We will.
If I have to get a camera, it would be the cameras. I guess there's some cheapy ones I could just get for a doggy cam.
Is she called Sarah more superior? I bet she's not.
That's what I'm saying. Sarah superior means she's on top. Like that. Sorry. She's always one-upping.
Sorry. I hope the other Sarah is listening to this in the outtakes. Like, yeah, you got my episode.
Moopsie aboard the time ship. If so, then Moopsie kills them all. I agree.
Yeah, right. If Moopsie manages to get onto the ship. For real.
The animated series has some good writing, but shit animation.
It's very dated, low budget animation. Yeah, there's some pretty shots in it, but it's like it's 70s, like it's old, and it wasn't like Hanna-Barbera levels.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's TOS, but
hmm
drawn.
Yeah, this would be season 4 of TOS. Which is what they wanted. After the original series started doing really, really well, they were like, "Hey, do you want to come back and do an animated series because it'll be cheaper and it's all the same voice cast, same people."
Oh, this reminds me of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, same. It'll be the same kind of time period.
I kind of love that.
We'll do an episode. We're going to do an episode of TAS.
I'm sure we will. I have been threatened with all Star Trek.
Threatened. You're seeing some great Trek in this season. You really are. I don't think there's been any big misses yet.
Oh yeah, that's not how that works, Link.
Yeah,
that is not how that works. But it would be.
Hey, Reese's.
What I should do is I should have like a little fundraiser from the fans. That's what I should do.
Yes,
You want this? Then we're all gonna have to pitch in and do it.
Great episode.
It's distinguished, says Sarah. It's not shit. It's distinguished. I like it.
Yes, it's unique.
Oh, is the TAS why we got different colored Orions?
Correct. Yes, exactly. Yep. And the reason was
Lordy.
it was easier to animate purple than green, or green didn't stand out very well, so they changed them from green to purple.
Here he is.
It's
Little Reese's. Yeah, it has aged. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, you guys, thank you for tuning in today. We're gonna jet off to do the more content creation for you on the CinemaSin side of things. Thank you for listening to the podcast to find out if I sound like a robot there too.
It'll be great.
We'll see. And yeah, we will hopefully have some solutions at some point in time. We're working on it, promise. It's just one never knows with electronics what the real issues are until you troubleshoot, which takes a long time when you're talking about a bunch of different kinds of equipment. So thank you for your patience.
For real.
Oh, that's a really great question. So as you can see, Ian is in the US. So it depends on if we can Baldur's Gate laptop to my PC. But even if we did that, I don't know if we would be able to stream or not. It just depends on how much we're going to be able to do. So it might be a while before we can smite. But we've already started talking about once we finish our game on Baldur's Gate, are we going to do it again and like force ourselves to play different characters? Like we switched over to Jaheira for part of the Baldur's Gate, and it totally changed what was happening in the game, which just reminded us how important it is to do that from time to time. We just did not play the game that way. We kind of found our characters and just played those characters. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah.
You can see us on Danae's Twitch channel. Danae, wait, no?
Nope. It's gone after 2 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, no. So I mean in the future, it'll be on Danae's channel.
Yeah. So twitch.tv/Danae says DENEESAYS. We really need to talk about where we're going to make those things live long term, because if we also broadcast to like YouTube or something, maybe we'd hold it longer, or we can download it and upload it.
Well, YouTube would hold it for ever and ever.
Yeah.
So we could just create a channel and plonk it over there.
We could possibly do some Mario Karting. We haven't done it in a while.
We have so much thoughts.
I don't think I have the Danae set up on this one slab. I probably should. Oh, maybe try without the Asante Goo on the E and see if it's there. BG3 voice cast at the Level Up Expo in Vegas. Oh, Vegas next month.
Let's go to Vegas. Let's do it.
Oh my, are you going to go? Are you going, Flashlight?
We'll bring some like business cards for Captain Spot and give them out.
I haven't been to Vegas in a while.
Call it a business.
You are? That's cool. Are you on our Discord too?
He is. They are.
Sweet. Okay.
Hates you, bitch.
I didn't mean to yell the first time, so I don't know, Link. I met them last fall, but we'll see them again next month now that the Funkos are out. Are you a Funko collector?
Fun.
Oh boy. If you are, yeah, wait.
For real. Welcome to the Lost Wages. 8 is here. Yay!
Ace has entered the chat.
Yeah, somebody called me a bitch. I'm here.
I only have one Funko, and it was Mr. Collected's Funko
Nice.
that he got to create with Funko Pop, which I thought was really cool.
Cool.
And I have it in my other room. I should put it in here because it'd be fun to see on screen in case Mr. Collected ever comes to visit on a live show. Guys, have a great week. Thank you again for being here. We value your presence and also your feedback during the show. It truly helps us to know, obviously, if we have issues in our recording. But it's really important. You have to 100? Oh my God.
Nice.
I'm not sure if any Danae's yelling will be Danae. What the fuck that she played for Iris twice. What the fuck? What?
It's amazing.
Fuck? Yeah, that was a big. So enjoy your week. When will CinemaSins? I don't think we have any plans to do that, actually.
No.
But it would be fun to do like a Jeremy Funko.
Oh, it'd be great.
Our artwork is very Funko Pop because of Mr. Collected. This one, for example. These are.
I love that poster so much. Smiling Borg, Aaron, is great. It's amazing. Yep, it was the motion picture inspired.
And there's the Cinder Prize.
There it is. I love it. I love it so much.
I'm an exocomp.
Yeah, you are. The most obscure cosplay. I love it so much. The deepest cut.
What I love about this poster so much is we all got to pick our own costumes.
Yes. We sure did.
I think it has 3 nacelles.
3, correct.
For the pitchfork of CinemaSins.
Exactly.
So there's 1 on the top and then 2 on either side on the bottom. But then from the side, yeah, it looks like it could have 4. It's a pretty cool ship.
Love it. Noom. Jonathan.
He is. He's like, you're right, JCD. He's like, oh God, what is Danae doing? Why is she dressed like this?
I thought we were in our best gear. It was an exocomp.
It's so funny because at the time we were doing this show, of course, and which is the inspiration for the poster for this year. It was in week. And we had just finished watching as many of the exocomp ones from
Yes.
And she was a Peanut Hamper was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Whom we never see again.
No. Quality of Life is such a good episode.
My point being, that poster and my other one is, I don't know if you guys can see it. Right there.
Oh, the Sin Bus. Yeah.
And it's the Sin Bus, and we're also in that same styling from Mr. Collected, and they're very Funko Pop. So I don't think it'd be hard to do.
What is it called? Doofuses? Are they Doofus Doodles?
Doofus Doodle, yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep.
Well, we've already, I don't think Quality of Life has been on anyone's top 5, but we have covered it already.
I don't remember that one.
I think this is where Data decides to kill Picard instead of the exocomps.
Oh, there was a question earlier. I'm so sorry. Real quick, it was from Link. You should post the notes again.
Yeah.
We have talked about today what we're gonna try to do. So I have to interact with my notes differently during the live show. I have to add a step that I'm currently missing because I will just delete as I go once I cover something. However, this time I literally just typed everything out and then I didn't look at it again. We did that one time. I think you guys liked it.
Yeah, it's really fun. And we have done. We've
had these faces the whole time.
Hi, this is us.
So, anyhow, I think, I lost my train of thought.
Notes.
Oh yeah, I think we could post this one, maybe on Discord again.
Yeah.
if you guys really want to, I'll just release it with all of my misspellings and weirdness.
Love it.
Yeah.
And we have done the quality of life. If you search for Captain's Pod, the quality of life in your podcast feed, it will come up. I just did it on Spotify.
Okay. Well. Take clips of the live show, create TikToks, put notes on there, go viral, profit.
Honestly, you should see the list of to-do notes that I have for Captain's Pod. That's on there.
I do have the overhead lights turned off because if they're on, I look like a Casper ghost. I got to figure out all my lighting.
Yeah, lots to figure out.
Okay. I think that's it for now. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next Monday for the next episode of Captain's Pod. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye. Oh, outro video. Oh, wait, no, I've done it. It's fine. It's good.
Oh, it's fine. Are you sure?
Yeah, you're good. Yep, do it. End stream. Click the button.